What's up, everybody? Thanks again for stopping by for another edition of March 4th with Mike Bauman. I, of course, am your host, Mike Bauman. Whoever you are, wherever you are listening from, thank you so much for checking out the podcast. If you're a returning listener, I greatly appreciate your continued love and support. And if you're a brand new listener of the show, thank you so much for hopping aboard that pirate ship. You can follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at March 4th Pod. The link tree with all of my stuff is in the podcast description for this episode. So that means if you made it here, then you found me somehow. And I truly appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to check out another edition of the March 4th with Mike Bauman podcast. How is everybody doing? I hope that life finds you and yours well as this episode is hitting your eardrums. If my memory serves me right, then this is episode 201. So thank you to all of the day ones and the OGs who have been rocking with this goofball from the onset of March 4th, and to all of the new listeners that this week's guest brought you here. Thank you once again for hopping aboard the pirate ship. I truly appreciate it, man. It is mid-February as this is hitting everybody's eardrums. So, we just had Valentine's Day, or as I used to say when I was a kid, Valentine's Day. Shout out to Valentine's Day, whether you are encumbered or not. I hope that you enjoyed the weekend. Whether you had dinner with your loved one, whether you were single and you went out or had a good time, if you enjoyed the NBA All-Star Weekend festivities as I did, shout out to Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren representing the Detroit Pistons in the Motor City. It's been a lot of fun these last couple of years watching those guys do their thing. Ever since I went to a game when I was 13 years old for my birthday present, man, I've been a Pistons fan. So we're talking like, gosh, 25 years now, man. And I'm a basketball junkie. So I enjoyed the NBA All-Star festivities, but yeah, I know there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world right now, to put it mildly. But I hope that you and yours are doing well, that you're approaching each and every day with a positive mindset, with love in your heart, and just trying to put good out in the world, man. Whatever it is that you do, I just encourage you to be the first one to extend your hand to somebody. If they elect not to dap you up or shake it, that's on them. Let's just leave the world a better place than where we found it when we were brought into it. And that's really what this podcast is all about for all you newbies out there, is just perseverance, moving forward. Whether you've got mental health struggles, whether you got financial struggles, whether you got self-doubt struggles, man, everybody is going through a battle that we don't know anything about. But at the end of the day, man, we all got to walk through darkness to get to the light in our lives, and you are not alone. And that's really what I hope this show is just a respite for people to come here and hopefully be entertained by this goofball, but also enjoy these conversations, maybe get put on to some new music that you weren't aware of previously, and maybe you discovered your new favorite band, and you realized too through these conversations that you're not alone, and that you have the power within you to overcome, to persevere, to chase your dreams, and that you're worthy of all of it, that you're worthy of love and light and all of the good things that this world has to offer. And there are plenty of good things and good people left. Again, I know there's a lot of craziness going on, but there's still a lot of really good people out there too. So keep your head up. And speaking of good people, one of the cool things about social media, especially as a music junkie like I am too, is that it really can put you on to artists that you weren't aware of previously, or maybe it would have taken a lot longer back in the day, to discover somebody. Maybe it was through word of mouth, or you heard them on the radio, or you were thumbing through records at the record store, and whoever owned the store or the people who worked there try to put you onto something when they learned your musical taste. And one of the cool things about social media, especially me doing this podcast and being on Instagram, the old geezer in me wasn't on there till 2020, but over the last 6 years, I've been able to connect with a lot of awesome artists. And same thing with TikTok now. I'm trying to step my game up. I digress. But these guys came on my radar, and I really enjoyed their sound. They are a band that really mixes like emo, alternative. There's some like heavy vocal moments and awesome guitars, and really they kind of put all of that in a blender for their own unique sound, and I dig it. They are none other than Ghost Tail out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. Really enjoy these guys. In particular, on this episode, we were able to get Brittany, who plays guitar, Richard, their singer, and Zach, who plays bass. And yeah, these guys have been kicking butt, playing a lot of shows, and it was just cool to catch up with them and learn more about their journey. Like I said, I can't remember if I saw like an ad they did on Instagram or they liked a couple of my posts. Shout out Talking Point out of Colorado as well. So recently I had those guys on a few months back, and they're sick. They had one of my favorite releases of 2025. So, however, the algorithm brought us together. It brought us together, and they just had their latest single come out at the beginning of the year called "Shallow End." It's an awesome listen, and I went back through their catalog and started listening to their music, getting ready for this one. And I also really loved No Fireflies in Colorado was fun. Pieces, Shadow and Smoke, Let Me Go. Really, really enjoy what these guys are doing. And it was just cool to get them on the show and learn more about their musical history, not only as a band, but their influences, because, like I said, it's kind of an amalgamation. How do you like that word? Of sounds in what they do, and really dug it, man. So without further ado, I'm gonna shut my big yapper and give you guys my conversation with Brittany, Richard, and Zach from Ghost Tale. Here it is. Alrighty, there we go. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I really have enjoyed listening to y'all's catalog, getting ready for this. I came across you on Instagram, and I don't know if it was through having Talking Point on recently. Shout out to those dudes. They're sick, but it seems like there's something in the water in Colorado because just from what I've seen from the shows that you guys are playing and posting on your Instagram and Talking Point, it really looks like it's an awesome scene out there. But I really appreciate you guys taking the time to join me on March 4th, man.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. Well, since we got three of yous, for the people listening, can you tell the listeners your names and what you do in the band, and then that way when you're talking, they know who's speaking.
I'm Brittany. I play guitar in Ghost Tale.
I'm Richard. I'm the lead singer of Ghost Tale.
I'm Zach. I play bass.
Well, thank you guys again so much for taking the time to join. Can I usually like to go back a little bit on this and ask people kind of like what their initial rabbit hole moment was with music, especially like performing and playing instruments. Are those memories vivid for each of you guys? Like I'm curious, like what was the bug that bit you with music?
Who wants to go?
Um, I was in bands when I was in middle school, and I played bass. Um, so I was in jazz bands. I did got a lot of awards in middle school and high school for playing bass. It was just fun, even like playing to your parents. So that's kind of my love for music. I like all different genres. If I put my Apple playlist on shuffle, it's gonna be like classical and jazz, and then country, and then metal, and then emo. It's I truly do listen to everything, and you're really gonna hear that on my mix. But yeah, I just like to play music. It's fun. I like to do it alone. I like to be on stage. So that's kind of where mine started. I joined band in middle school.
Mm, it's like the typical. You wanna go?
Sure. I think maybe my dad realized I didn't like sports, and he bought me. He was out to sea, and he got a guitar from one of his shipmates, and decided when he got back, he'd get me a guitar and we'd do lessons together. I think we only did like level one lessons. I wasn't the best student. But then not too long after that, I moved and actually moved into the same neighborhood as Brittany, who had a guitar, and she was ready to join a band. I was like, well, I've got one like semester of lessons under me, so sign me up. But then music more broadly, um, we used to take road trips in the summer every year and going from Virginia to Iowa. And back then we had cassettes and then eventually like a giant, CD album of all my mom's music. And so Beatles, Bee Gees, Fleetwood Mac, Blondie. Honestly, she had like songs of the 70s, songs of the 80s, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I think my heart lies in terms of like eras and genres, oldies.
For me, like it started with singing, and that was something that I just always did. Like came out of the womb singing, and it was something that like my parents like would have people over, and I would like sing for them even when I was like 3. So it was just an ongoing thing throughout my life. And then I remember the first time I saw someone play guitar, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And it was just like this like knowing that it was gonna happen. And so it started like really, really young for me. And then my parents were both into music and they were both into like way different styles of music. Like my dad was more into like the hardcore stuff and my mom was into like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young and like the Carpenters and like that kind of stuff, like more of that kind of stuff. So I had like that nice like blend of going on. But yeah, it's just kind of always been there for me. It's just always I don't actually have memory from a time when that wasn't a thing.
So 3 years old, you're already cranking out the vocals. Was anybody in your family like singer wise too, like vocally, like having that skill set, or was it just something that you were naturally drawn to?
It's something that I was really naturally drawn to. Like there's a couple people in my family that attempted to do vocals. Um, That's all I'm gonna say about that. And it was also there. My grandfather, I think, is kind of where it comes from because my grandpa had perfect pitch, and he was like this like pretty Einsteiny kind of person. So he was like kind of like that musical genius, and so it's almost like the family was like just waiting to see like, okay, who's gonna get this music gene, and like where is it gonna be? And so like that was always there with vocals for me, but I don't know. And I think a lot of other people also have it. They're just not as like open about it. It's more of like a silent passion than it is like something that they're actually putting themselves on stage and doing for other people.
Yeah, the performance aspect of what y'all do, like I got to imagine that feeling of like being able to take something that's like coming from your soul and your bones and like performing for people is probably it's just so awesome. Like just as a fan of going to shows, like I love going to concerts and just being there with other people. It's like a spiritual experience when you're there with a bunch of people who also dig that same artist and they're into it. But I always think about it from the artist point of view too. Like even people who have been doing it forever, I'm like, I'm sure there's still some nerves or still like, that blend of energy and adrenaline and excitement. But for y'all, man, like for Ghost Tale, like one, that's a really cool name. I really dig that. But Zach, I know you mentioned you said you were in the, if my memory serves correctly, like being in the same neighborhood as Brittany. So it sounds like you guys have known each other for a while. But how did you guys link up? How did the three of you guys link up for Ghost Tale? And I say you guys a lot. That's like a Midwest thing. I've adopted y'all a little bit with Nashville. But if I say you guys, it's just like the Toledo in me is still there. But how did Ghost Tale come together?
Uh, well, it started off, me and Zach were in a previous project, and we were working with some people that didn't necessarily like the way the project was going, and their influence was so great that we weren't having fun. So we decided that we were done with that project and we were going to do something, but we wanted to have fun because we had stopped having fun in that project. We were playing the shows, we were doing the tours, we were doing the festivals, and we were just like, but this isn't fun. So we were like, well, what can we do to have fun? Like, what kind of music? Because we all play very different music outside of Ghost Tale. Very, very, very different music. None of our projects outside of this are the same at all. And I was just like, why don't we just do what we did in high school? Just play some bar notes and yell into a mic and see what happens. And that's kind of how the Ghost Tale project started, is we just weren't having fun, so we decided to try to have fun and play some pop rock, screamo, emo, whatever you want to call whichever song. Uh, and then it was time to find a singer because none of us sing, and we just found Richard eventually. So he's in the music scene here, and have seen him at open mics, and I just kind of reached out like, I don't know, dude, do you still sing? Do you want to sing? And we just kind of went from there. We had some tryouts, but we gelled with Richard the best, so.
Thankfully.
So Richard, what was that first audition like? Because again, I started with so for everybody listening, I started with Shallow End. That was my introduction to you guys. I'm like, oh, this is cool. It's like I had a cool like alternative vibe. And then I put a playlist together and of everything that I have up from y'all on Spotify. And I just went from like oldest to newest. And so I went from Shallow End to Shadows and Smoke. And I was like, holy shnikes, this is like totally different spectrum. But I loved it because I love like metalcore and hardcore. I'm like, dude, this dude's really can do like the hardcore vocals too, and musically like what these guys can do. So what was that first audition like, man?
First of all, the first audition was it was fine. I don't know, like we're all in like the basement and like so they're like, hey, here's some
Down to our basement.
yeah, it was sort of was kind of like that at first. I was like, is this gonna be like a bad thing? Like, what's gonna happen here? But you know, sometimes you just take those risks and you do those things that you maybe have no idea how it's gonna go. And it was good. And you know, I just sang a couple songs. I sang like Brittany was mentioning, I come from like this R&B kind of background. I come from like this more folky R&B background. And that's kind of where my vocals are from. And so like it was interesting because I've been like doing like kind of adaptations of like what the music has been. Like 'cause you said about Shadow and Smoke and stuff. So like there was a previous vocalist and so I've been kind of like moving in to like do that and now we're doing like adaptations of what is going to happen with those songs and stuff. And so it's been interesting to see the way that it's like blending together now because I think it's kind of cool actually what's happening. I mean that's my opinion at least is that it's kind of cool and that the way that it's blending together. So yeah, brought me down to a basement, didn't beat me up, so that's a good thing, you know.
So what was like the diversity? Do you guys remember like the diversity of songs like in that audition? Like, because again, I'm just thinking about your catalog and like, the variation in sounds, you know?
We did Shadows.
Yeah, we did Shadows.
If you listen to what Shadows really is, the music within Shadows is very jazzy and funky. And then you come into that chorus where it's like broken power chords, which would be the emo and the screamo side of that song. But there's a lot of jive in the verse. So it can fall into a lot of different genres, especially with what the vocals do. So we did Shadows, we did some covers. It was just a tryout, like let's hear your voice, let's see if we like each other.
Yeah.
I try to see if people smell bad. Like,
Yeah.
do you come up in the basement and all of a sudden it smells like a foot? Like,
I'm glad that I did
Yeah.
smell. I smelled the best with people. Okay, great.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's true. We have women try out too. When we made the change with the singer, we had a few women try out, a few males, and Richard just was the best fit, and we were just ready to just make music. So there was like we were looking at people's schedules, we were looking at people's background, and we have a really diverse background. So it's not like, oh, I do folk right now. Oh, I do R&B right now. Like that doesn't matter because if you go outside of the catalog of Ghost Tale, what me and Zach do are not going to fall into the emo. So yeah, we just found a friend. So
Well, I love what y'all are doing. I like the songs that really kind of hit me the most. I did really like Shadows and Smoke, No Fireflies in Colorado.
that's a
Uh,
favorite.
Mhm.
Let Me Go was like it was really sad but really beautiful. It's like one of those really good sad songs. Like I love a really good sad song. The guitar and pieces gave me like it gave me like 80s metal vibes and I love music from that era too. So like the Rivage in that one I really liked. Um, the one where I just wanted to give everybody a hug was Till Valhalla. Like for real, that was like holy crap. Um, that was
The
it's one
most.
of those songs where it's like, good Lord, like it's just it's like such a heavy. I'm like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, but again, like a really beautiful song. And then obviously the new one, Shallow End, but the other ones too, you know, Soft Spoken, The Dancing Table. Like I feel like there again, there's a lot of diversity in y'all's catalog. So there's not even really a question in there other than I think it's cool that it seems like this is like a fun genreless melding, especially since, you know, you guys have told me a little bit about your musical backgrounds. It's cool that it seems like there's not like a boundary to kind of what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I think I always say like, ooh, I think probably most bands question their genre, or like, are they achieving the sound that they intended to, or maybe they didn't have like a specific sound, but then like, okay, well, what did we create? And I think we definitely had an idea of what we wanted to create, but then once we all got together and we created that, and then as we assess it, I always say, well, that sounds like Ghost Town now, because it definitely reflects our individual playing styles. And when you put them together, that's going to be Ghost Tale. So if you change it out, you can still be Ghost Tale, but it might be a little bit different. But yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of the way I felt about it.
Yeah. All the songs are similar. Like you definitely know that's a Ghost Tale song. You definitely hear the power chords come in, and then all of a sudden you hear like the trill of like that 80s guitar riff, and then vocally it's Ghost Tale, you know. I will say that Shallow End we went to somebody new to record as well.
Mhm.
So although it does sound a lot different, it is the same old guitar stuff. It's just mixed different. I think
Yeah.
we when we got it back, we were really happy with it, really excited. We were like, "Oh, this is commercial. We haven't had that in a long time." And we were talking about how the bass is so much lower. So like the bass and drums are mixed different in that, and like the guitars are kind of more seamlessly laid together in this song, and that maybe wasn't what we had asked for with the first producer we went to, and it's still this. I mean, I think the guitar is really heavy in Shallow End, and maybe it just doesn't get that credit because of the way it's mixed.
Yeah,
But the
I agree.
the shine of that song is the vocals. So it was mixed properly.
That was like the song where it was like the first song that we were redoing, or not redoing, but like the first new written song. I can't not say that for whatever reason. The first new song that we did with the new vocalist, and so I think it was like trying to kind of be like, hey, here's this person, here's our new vocalist. So it was fun. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, it's a pretty heavy part, but like I said, the way it's mixed, it's a really treble song. It sounds really good on like Sony speakers, Sony headphones, if you like that brand. And I'm just like, I really like it, but it's really punchy. If you really like listen into those guitar parts, you're like, wow, okay. So, and it's the same old stuff, Meg, but it was mixed really well.
Was that the one when you guys put the video on your Instagram on is it 107.9? Am I getting the station right in Colorado Springs where
Yeah,
you guys were playing, hearing it on the radio and you did an interview with them too, right?
yeah. That DJ's name is Danger Dean, and that is the second time Ghost Tale's been on the show. The first song that was on the show was Till Valhalla, and then more recently the song where you're seeing it on Instagram would be with Richard, and that's Shallow End. And Danger Dean likes us. He came out and supported us this past weekend at his show, and we got some video. He's a goofball, but yeah, like that's the one that went on the radio this time, and
We like
yeah,
him too.
yeah, we like him. He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
That's such a cool moment though, like to be able to hear your song played on the radio, like even in this age of like digital streaming and all of that, like I mean, I'm not trying to speak for you guys, but like even in that video you could see like the excitement, like I don't know, maybe it's just me. Like
sorry.
like I don't know, maybe me just being like I'm about to turn 38, which is oh my God, that's weird to think about. But just being like a kid in the 90s, man, and like growing up on CDs and cassettes and tape and like listening to the radio, like there's still like three or four stations in Toledo that I just grew up listening to, or like 89X out of Detroit and 101 The Riff. Like so I think that's sick that that where you guys are, that you're getting like the local radio love too. That's really cool. Is it Danger Dean? Has he been around a while? Has he been doing a show for a long time?
Yeah, so he's the night DJ on 1079, which is an iHeart radio station. So he does that every like evening. And then on Fridays he does the local station. And then this past Sunday we were on a Denver radio station as well. So that is also iHeartRadio. But that DJ's name is Dirt.
Yeah.
So I met one of the DJs at a show, a local show, about a month or two before the single came out, and he just walked up to me and starts talking to me. He's like, "Are you in a band?" I was like, "I'm not in any of these bands." And then we just started talking. I was like, "Yeah, we just recorded," and I was telling him about the studio we went to, and I was like, he was like, "Oh, well, when it comes out, send it to me." And I sent it to him, and it took him a while to listen to it, but eventually he did. And he was like, "Oh, you have to send this to our DJ Dirt. You have to be on the radio." And I sent it to him, and like I said, a couple days later, he was like, "This is gonna be on the radio on Sunday at this time." And I was like, "We're gonna be in Denver Sunday. We can listen to it."
Yeah.
So we played a show Sunday, and then we jumped in our car, and it was snowing, and we just listened to it, and we're just having a good time because it's a good song. So, and we had just had a decent
Yeah.
show in a blizzard, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was pretty exciting.
Yeah, and you guys recently, so this is going to be hitting people's ears in February, and we're doing this in like late January, but just getting ready for this and seeing the different shows that you guys have played. And obviously we're talking about the diversity of your sound, like outside looking in. And again, shout out to the guys in Talking Point. Like, it seems like there's a really awesome music scene out there, like in terms of different venues and bands going to each other's shows. And does it, am I inferring correctly in terms of like the scene and like the shows? Like, is it looks like it's a pretty healthy one, in terms of Colorado Springs and Denver.
I think it's been growing a lot.
Yeah, I think it's been growing a lot, and our fan base has been growing, which has been really nice, to have that pickup. But in Colorado, a lot of it has to do with the weather.
Yeah.
If it's a nice day and people can go hiking for free, it might be hard to get people to show up. Or if there's a blizzard, maybe 50 people show up for some reason. I don't know.
There's nothing
So,
else to do.
yeah, but we do have a good fan base and a good following, and a lot of local musicians are always reaching out to us to do shows, and sometimes it just doesn't work with schedules, but I think we get a lot of support from a lot of local artists.
Well, I was gonna
So
say,
we give a lot of support.
we do what?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do
What?
get a lot of
What'd you
support.
You more than me, but
say?
we
Exactly, I don't
get
do much.
support, but we give a lot of support.
Oh, that's
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, you like curate your own like whole like list of local bands and that playlist and
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
So you're like constantly supporting. So I feel like, with music, it's like if somebody is gonna support other people, it comes down to like the person, like the individual person, and it's like really about if that person cares enough about other people, and that's kind of what it seems like. But in Colorado, it seems like there's a lot of people that actually do care about what other people are doing. There's a lot of like individual musicians who are in multiple bands, and so they're kind of like getting each band going, and then it's cool to see like each of those projects kind of take off and like get stronger and grow. And then some of them kind of fade out over time, but like they're constantly supporting one another, which is good. Like Colorado Springs is not like a huge music like place. We don't have like a ton of bands doing stuff, but in the past like year, there's been way more than I've seen ever before. So I think there is a exponential growth happening in the music scene out here in Colorado. And then Denver is kind of the same. Um, I remember Denver was a lot bigger in the music world like maybe like 10 years ago, and then it kind of like went during like COVID. So I feel like this is also like our return to having live music, like since COVID happened. And so it is really nice to be out at shows and people are really supportive. Like the show we just did yesterday, they were all really supportive of one another, which is really
Yeah,
nice. It's cool to see that.
yeah. Yeah, out in a blizzard, and they came out to see us. A couple other local musicians were there that came out to support all of us. And we're just like, it's snowing, so we're just gonna play a fun show and everybody was like really into it. And then once we played Shallow End, which is the new single, just like everybody for us just picked up and I was like, well, maybe we should be doing that one first.
Mm.
Because the second we played that one, I guess maybe that was the one people were like queuing in on recently. And the second we played that, the crowd just like they all got taller and they got louder and
Mm.
yeah. So that was pretty nice. And like I said, like a huge surprise. It was essentially a blizzard for the 6 hours the show was going on and people showed up. We showed up in the snow, and I was like, well, at least we'll get pictures. And then all of a sudden, people just start coming in, and we're like, okay. So
Well, at least out there, I feel like you guys are equipped for it. Like one of my coworkers is she's from Colorado. And I'm trying to remember the name of the town she's on, but it's like the other side of the mountain. She spent a lot of time in the Denver area because I'm in healthcare during the day and we've got facilities there and hospitals there and stuff. But she's like, oh yeah, you got to have like snow tires and like they don't mess around out there. Whereas here, man, we get like an inch in Tennessee and it's like the whole
Just
city is like everybody's buying
Oh,
bread,
snow day.
toilet paper, and milk. I don't know why that's like the apocalypse diet. It's like bread, toilet paper, and milk. You'll survive, you know.
yeah.
You run out of the bread
You
and
gotta
you at least have toilet paper.
each little leaf. Oh man. In the
But
milk.
but yeah,
Oh my
that's
God.
that's what I was gonna that's what I was gonna ask was like it sounds like maybe it's like the appetite of people for a while being cooped up with COVID. And sadly there were some venues all across the country that never came back, unfortunately, after that happened. But do you guys think that's what it's been in terms of you said seeing like it pick up is just like that appetite for live music again?
I did I interrupt?
No.
My thing is, I think that people are coming back into this genre, if that makes sense. I think there for a little bit, like right when I got out of high school and whatnot, we were starting to focus in on like EDM and electronic and more of the pop, like the something you hear on the radio, like Florence and the Machine, Ellie Goulding, like Dead Mouse, things like that. Like everybody was kind of in our age group anyway, which would be our fans. Like that's who we're probably advertising to is people in our age group. So, and then now I feel like people are feeling nostalgia for like the old stuff that they listened to in high school. So
Yeah.
now all these emo bands are popping up, all these punk bands are popping up. So I think that actually the genre is being rejuvenated right now as well. So maybe COVID, people for instance, during COVID, I work in healthcare as well, so I was working from home, and I was like, let me just learn the whole discography of Avril Lavigne on bass, and so like I was just like stuff that I listened to in middle school. Like, let me just practice. I don't have anybody to play with right now, so let me just do my own thing. So I think that it's more of a rejuvenation that we're coming back into this emo type of music.
I kind of agree with you. I think COVID, I remember in COVID, um, that was like one of the like busiest times musically for me actually, and it was because people were out of work basically, and they were trying to do things and they were trying to do like Skype sessions and stuff, and a lot of the networking was online, and so I feel like where we're at now is it's like bringing all of the skills we learned during COVID to the music scene and but actually being able to go out and do it now. So like I remember it used to be so much like to go and jam with somebody it would be like you got to meet in this place and you got to be here at this time or if you're going to do an interview or something, it's like you got to show up to this place and you got to be there. And now it's just different. It's like kind of easier. It's kind of like the to do about it got taken off a little bit. And now people are like, hey, let's just be people and we're just people making music. And so, and Colorado is like very chill. Like overall, people don't really have much of like a pretense about stuff. They're kind of like, yeah, whatever. That's their whole mentality most of the time. So I feel like that's kind of being applied to the music scene out here too. And so it's also like helping people because I've talked with so many people who are like, "Oh, I've always wanted to do music, but I can't do music." And it's like, "Why? Why can't you do music? Why can't you?" And even in like the last year or two, I've watched these people go from saying they can't do it to having a band. So it's like I think it's just people are inspired to do it again. it kind of reminds me of like the early 90s, like garage banding, but like now it's like Zoom banding. So it's just different, but it's working out, so I like it.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I mean this podcast, like I started it initially back in 2012, and then I rebranded it in 2019, and I kind of picked it up and put it down in my 20s, and it was sort of birthed out of doing music feature stories for Toledo Free Press back in the day, and I was young and learning, and it was like, man, it was just cool to get to talk to people for a little while. And I feel like I can gab with the best of them, not to like toot my own horn, but I can talk. I come from a family of a lot of like big personalities and like, Irish like goofballs, and so, and I love music. And when COVID happened, I was working from home remotely, and I had been, it had been, the wheels had been turning for a while of like, I really miss doing that because I kind of shut this part of myself off for a while. And that ended up being one of the silver linings of that whole time, was it kind of kickstarted me to get back into this and really focus in on it. And a lot of other people were at home too. So doing the Zoom thing kind of worked out. So I guess in every kind of, there's some good you can find, I guess, in a little bit of everything. But that was it's cool to hear that it's translated for y'all as musicians too, in terms of the shows and like that creative kind of, you know, I don't know, rejuvenation maybe, that was the silver lining of COVID. And yeah, it's wild because yeah, I remember like the TRL days, watching that when I would come home from school with my sister like pretty much every day, and being like, I mean, I'm a broken record. I repeat myself a lot, but like as a heavy music fan, like when Korn would knock Backstreet Boys off like the top video or POD, I'd be like, oh. And like and now, and it's cool because like you think about bands from that era, like Deftones, Korn, Blink 182, Brittany, you mentioned Avril Lavigne, like, all of these artists are like, if they're not as big as they've ever been, they're pretty close. You know what I mean? Like there's like a lot of those artists, like Korn is still playing arenas, Deftones. I mean, I feel like they've reached an entirely new, people who are like 20 years younger than me are like really into them. And so it's yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see a lot of the stuff, whether it's like new metal, alternative, emo. I feel like all that stuff's as big as it's ever been right now, you know?
Think didn't somebody mention recently that our style of music and like rock in general is still gets a lot of play through video games?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that,
those
but I was
Twitch streamers.
yeah, I was thinking back to like when I used to play more video games, and like sometimes you got music through video games. Like I remember the Need for Speed Underground soundtrack was really good. Um, Probably what, like Tony Hawk, and
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
yes.
I wonder if there's like a rejuvenation, or maybe a continuation of popularity with those bands, um, through how big gaming is.
The sync
Yeah.
lesson is crazy right now.
Mhm.
Like, can you imagine getting your song put in like GTA or something like
Right.
that?
Right.
That's like
That'd be
enough
cool.
press for a lifetime, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zach, you're not the first one to mention Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, like that
So
soundtrack to that video game and how it got people into artists. I've had a few artists who have brought that up. Um, yeah, and even was it Grand Theft Auto? Was it Miami Vice, or what? Was that the one? I remember my brother had that game, and it had like Duran Duran on it and like a lot of the 80s. And was it?
Maybe San Andreas, because San Andreas is me and my brother's favorite game specifically for the radio stations. Like the nostalgia just from hearing a song that was on that soundtrack. Yeah.
Well, in the time that we have left, and thanks again so much, y'all, for doing this. I really appreciate the time, and I'm enjoying the conversation. Can I ask you guys too? I mean, and again, this is probably like, I don't know, maybe this is a broken record because you guys are from Colorado, so maybe it just seems like normal because it's there. But Red Rocks, like I got a chance to visit when I was there. I think there was a show going on that week, but it wasn't like anybody in my wheelhouse. And then like I had to get back here when I was out there on vacation, but I got a chance to like walk around there and like that place is amazing. Have you guys like whether it's there or another venue, are there any really memorable shows that stick out to you guys as concert goers? I'm always curious about that as musicians too. Like if there's any like, oh my God, I'm like, I'll never forget that show. I'm so glad I was there. And I only brought up Red Rocks because, you know, you're Colorado Springs and that's Golden, right? So it's close.
Well, me and Zach just went to a concert in December at Summit. It's in Denver to see one of our favorite high school bands play, and I was just like, let's just go. We had a friend already going, and she was like, "Are you guys going?" And I was like, "Well, let me just ask Zach because the answer should be yes." So he was like, "Yeah, I'll go. How much are tickets?" I was like, "Okay." And so we bought tickets, and we were in the front row for Story of the Year, Armor for Sleep, and Senses Fail. And then Zach was like, "Well, I haven't been crowd surfing in like 20 years."
Oh,
We put them up, and we went. Yeah, we had a grand old time doing that. So that is a pretty memorable show just because friends. I've seen Census Fail and Story of the Year a handful of times, but it's who you're with sometimes. So pretty awesome shows. Do you guys have any?
I mean, I saw like back in the day, I saw like Incubus at Red Rocks. That was like that was pretty cool. Red Rocks is, I mean, it's pretty much the best venue. I mean, everybody knows it. It's not like it's a secret or anything. And people come to Colorado specifically to play at Red Rocks. So everybody knows. And even if it's raining or there's weather, there's just like something magical about being at Red Rocks at the show in the middle of those like formations and like I don't know. Where I've also been to where is the summit? What is the summit?
The
Because
summit's on. That's like right next to the Rocky Stadium. Is that
oh,
is that Jackson Street?
That's just downtown to me. I don't know.
I mean, I went to Red Rocks when I first moved here, like in 2000. Well, it wasn't when I first moved here, but like 2015. And to speak to the weather, it was Halloween weekend, and I went to see Mac Miller, and it was sleeting on everybody. And it was a Halloween show, so everybody was all dressed up in their costume and stuff. That was pretty memorable, for a million reasons, but that was a good show. I think that Red Rocks actually puts on the best like bass shows or the best like R&B shows. It just has to do with the rocks. If you go see rock there, it's still fun, but if you love music, I always recommend to go see like EDM or like a rap artist or something. It's amazing. So,
I've been out here for 2 years and I've not actually been to Red Rocks yet.
oh, you got
But my favorite artist, the Alabama Shakes, are going to be there in May. And I missed them
Oh.
last year when they were here in July. And
she's great.
yeah, they hadn't even toured. They hadn't been together for several years. And then all of a sudden they popped up back together on tour. And I don't know why, but I missed it. And I haven't bought a ticket yet, so I'm like working on missing it again this year, but I'm gonna try and make sure I don't.
Probably got to get that like now.
No,
the first night's already sold
I
out.
know.
What?
Yeah, the first night's already sold out. I told him, and I sent him. I was like, he's like, I think tickets are $140, and I was like, they're 80. They're $80, which is still a lot. Red Rocks is much
It'd be
more
totally worth
expensive.
it regardless. I
Red
would pay
Rocks-
150.
Red Rocks is much more expensive nowadays than it has been in the past. But
I mean, 80 is fine. There's artists coming out with tickets that are like in the $700 range, right?
Yes.
That's like
No.
ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
that's not for me.
Right,
That's
yeah.
not for me.
The weird thing about being in Nashville is whatever you like, you'll find it here, which is awesome. You know what I mean? You can go into like a hole in the wall place and just hear amazing musicians in all genres, and because it's like, you know, the Music City, right? Everybody wants to play here, and usually it's part of the tour stop. And if it's not, it's usually because maybe they played it a year or two ago and now they're trying to hit like Atlanta or Memphis, or but also kind of the bummer when you mentioned like, yeah, like really high ticket prices is people will use bots. And if it's like a more popular artist, and I'm sure it probably happens in Colorado too, but they'll use bots and just buy up like all these tickets. So if it's somebody that's like more in like, I don't want to use the word mainstream, but you know what I mean? Like somebody that's like I love Chris Stapleton, and it's almost impossible to get his tickets for face value in Nashville because they sell out immediately. And then like he did 2 or 3 nights at Bridgestone Arena, which is where like the Preds play. I know out there just because I'm a basketball fan. It used to be the Pepsi Center, but it's something else now. Somebody else has the naming rights, I think. And where the Avalanche play and the Nuggets play, it used to be the Pepsi Center back in the day, right?
Oh,
Arena.
is it?
Yeah.
It went through like Comfort Dental,
Yeah,
Invesco.
the mason jars, the ball mason jars. I think that's who owns it now.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
That
Yeah,
could be a lie. I made that up. You're gonna like Google it, and it's gonna be like Little Caesars, which is Detroit, but
right, yeah. But yeah, anyway, when you mention like high ticket prices, I'm like, that's me ranting like I can have a tendency to do. But yeah, that's the only bummer about Nashville is if it's like, somebody that's kind of in like, you know, like that kind of genre or not even genre, but people who are, like top 10 record sales, like it's the tickets sell out immediately. But I guess that kind of happens everywhere. But I don't know. I when I was younger though and going to shows, I don't remember it being like that. Like I don't know, maybe just because between like Toledo and Detroit, Detroit has a really rich music history too, and a lot of people usually want to play Detroit when they go on tour, but I never remember having to pay a crazy amount. Like I remember when the Death Magnetic album came out for Metallica, I was like 20 going on 21, and they played at Joe Louis in Detroit, which they hadn't played since they were on tour with Ozzy in like the mid 80s. And it was cool because on that run, they played in the round. Um, and that leg of the tour was Machine Head and the Sword. And then another leg of the tour, I think, was Lamb of God and Gojira. So both legs were sick, but like, I think now, granted, we're talking like 18 years ago, so I guess it makes sense with inflation and whatnot. But we got tickets like 11 rows from the floor on the aisle for like $90. Like it was, and now if I tried to do that in Nashville, those would be like probably like 500 or more, and we got like a digital download of the show. So I still have that concert. But anyway, um, well, before I wrap it up with y'all, man, and thanks again so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. You guys have a new fan in me, so I'm glad that through the ether or just like mutual, algorithms, whatever crazy weirdness goes on with these algorithms and um before, we just turn into like Terminator 2 Judgment Day out here and robots take over everything. I'm glad that we connected through the Instagram algorithm, but with the theme of the show being perseverance and moving forward, like that's the meaning behind March 4th. Um, just from listening to y'all's music, man, and hearing you guys talk about it and like your experiences with it and it really being a lifelong thing. I'm not trying to turn you into Barbara Walters or anything, or like, like I'm not a doctor. This podcast is for entertainment purposes, but obviously it's like a crazy time in the world right now, like we were talking about before the jump, and it sucks that there's a lot of stuff going on that's negative, but there's also still a lot of good that's going on. What are things that have helped you guys get through the dark days and the tough times that maybe you feel like would be beneficial to anybody out there who, might be struggling right now with whatever it is, and how has music kind of played a role in that for you guys? Sorry, I know it's kind of a loaded question at the end, man. I probably should do this earlier in the conversation, but
I always talk about this, so
Yeah, but no, it's good. I can. You want us to say something?
I'm thinking.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't answer that one lightly.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and not answer it lightly. I think uh, friends, people, connections, these are all things that have helped. Getting back out into the music scene has helped. Um, just relating with people, having conversations with people, because I feel like everybody has this like this kind of like baseline understanding that it's all crap right now. And so like once you like punch through that baseline understanding of that it's all like this is where the world is right now, then people start to open up. And then I don't know, the balance of having that dark talk about how crap it all is, and then but I'm also listening to this. Have you heard this song? Oh, did you watch this? And then having that connection, and then it can all kind of turn it around just depending on who you talk with and what you're doing. And I think like the community is a huge thing, and I'm really about community. Like I love organizing like events and things like that, especially if it's like a live music event. I love doing stuff like that because I think that it gets people out of the house. It gets people to forced to talk to new people, which I think is a huge thing. And is everyone is so like agoraphobic since COVID and with what's going on with the world in general. And so I feel like putting all these people in one spot where it's like, ha, you're here in one spot. Now you all have to talk to each other. Ha ha ha. It's like kind of like it's sort of like torturous for them, but at the same time it's forcing them to open up and like talk about what their stuff is with new people. And I think like that's super, super important. Um, like kind of like having a audition in a basement that you've never been to before. It's like forcing yourself into these new environments where you have to go, and then it's better than you think, and you have great conversations and meet good people. So like that's been a thing that's really helped me. um, I don't know. I think you have a lot to say on this too, but like I think that also people just being more invested in mental health in general these days because everyone's going through something has also really helped. Because people are not like it used to be like taboo to talk about stuff like that. Like you couldn't talk about I'm sad today, The now it's super common to have connections made through mental health and what people are doing to like I guess like heal themselves or work towards having a better life. That seems to be like more common now, and I think that's also a good thing. Okay, I'll stop talking. My bad.
Zach.
I'm not sure if I have anything in particular to add.
Dregs.
What?
Was
No,
it dregs?
No, I think, well, if I was to take someone, well, I don't take my own advice, but if I were, I would say, kind of piggyback on what you're saying, like, get out and do something because I'm the type of person who likes to figure things out internally, and you can do a lot. You can get a lot out of ruminating and thinking and taking your time with things like that. But if there's something that's bothering you in your environment, whatever that is, on a small scale or a big scale, you can think about it, but really what you got to do is you got to get involved in some way and doing something. So if it's something personal with like a relationship with somebody, like you can think on it, but eventually you got to act if you want to change the circumstance. If it's politics and you're sitting at home ingesting a bunch of information and you feel like you're going crazy, well, it's probably because you're not setting yourself up to do anything with it, whether
Mm.
that is like getting involved with your community or finding like-minded people. I think, at least in terms of like mental health, that probably goes a long way. That's all I can add at the
Well
moment.
said. Well said.
Pass. No, I'm just kidding. What was the question again? Let me try with my ADHD to hone in on just one thing to talk about. Because recently we've played some shows, and I usually do like a little mental health spill between one or two of our songs, just because they're sad, and especially if you know the lyrics, they can be sad songs. So I usually like the past weekend I just got on stage and I was like, check it, everybody needs a little bit of love. So if you could just repeat the question, I'll try to hone in on the specific. That way we're not here 37 minutes.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I'm working on being more concise, Brittany, and unfortunately, it's just one of those things it's tough for me. But I would say specifically, like, is there anything I guess that's consistently worked through you in like dark times, however that manifests, whether it's depression, anxiety, ADHD, you know, OCD, what, you know, things that have helped you kind of get through darker moments, or if it's something external, like, you know, obviously there's a lot of horrible things going on in the US right now where we are, but like things things that help you get through like a darker headspace to a more positive headspace.
Ooh,
Drugs. Just kidding.
so I think that ways that I make it through stuff is like trying to find confide in people. When I was younger, I used to hide a lot. I used to internalize a lot. I used to, you know, maybe even drink a lot more than I do now. I'm not a drinker, but maybe when I was 21, I definitely was. So, uh, my thing is, I think that our music has a message, so I try to write stuff about what I'm going through or what I think other people are going through or what I've seen in the past. Some of our songs, you know, we've pulled out of the past, so not all of them are that relevant. Like you said that you really enjoyed "Let Me Go," but that song I wrote that probably 8 years ago. It's a very old song in my lifetime. It's a pretty old song. So I focus on writing and trying to put it out. If that's with Ghost Tale or in some other way, I do that. But my way of bringing that to the public is when we play it, I try to show that I do enjoy the music, but then I make sure that everybody knows that regardless of our resting bitch face or our posture or how we are perceived, that it is okay to please come talk to us. If it's 3 in the morning and you're not feeling okay, please feel free to reach out to the band page and be in contact with us. We do know the resources to get you help if we cannot be that person for you. Um, I get on stage and I think that even when we have a short set, we're just popping in to be an opener for 20 minutes. I still try to put that into the world that like you're loved, like know that you're loved. We try to spread awareness that verbally say it to people, even if they aren't present in your life right now. But if you're thinking about them, don't be avoidant, don't be scared, and don't be ashamed that you have those feelings. Like definitely reach out to somebody, get the professional help you need, that it's okay to not be okay. I think that would, if you watched any of our lives, that gist would come out a lot. And sometimes I'm just like, you know, fuck your therapist. If that therapist is not right for you, please shop around. There's hundreds of therapists, and not all of them are gonna fit. Not all of them are gonna specialize in what you need. Um, it's just, and sometimes it's just beneficial after a few years to make a switch anyway. Um, so that's why I'm here. I like to put my sadness into songs because I think people can relate, and then make sure people know that it's okay to be sad, that our world is not always a happy, safe place.
Yeah.
So,
Do you ever, so here's something I've been doing. Here's a specific thing I've been doing is I'll like if I'm in a state like that where I'm sad or angry or whatever, I'll grab my guitar and I'll like string of consciousness write a song and it'll be so angsty or I'll just end up screaming like half the words and then I get done and I don't do anything with it. I'm just like, okay, great. There you go. And then I'm done and then I feel better and then I got like that screaming or whatever I needed to do out of my system and that I'm saying I'm piggybacking off of me piggybacking off of Zach piggybacking off of you piggybacking to say that that is something that I have been doing a lot because
Like a punching bag.
yeah, like yeah, exactly, but with music.
hmm I used to have a drum set of my own. I wouldn't call myself a drummer, but like I always said, like, if you got anger problems, just get behind a drum set, let it out.
It's like an animal from the Muppets. Or
yeah, I would say that some of those angst songs, I used to do that. I go into a journal, which is why I felt like a few months ago I lost my journal, and I don't write a song and then move on. Like I write pieces and like I piece melodies in for months. Like if when I'm creating an album in my solo project, it can take like 2 years to get 10 songs because I'm like, oh, this guitar melody, this isn't right, these vocals aren't right. Like so I lost my lyric journal and I felt like I was actually in crisis about 2 months ago.
yeah.
I was not doing very well over that. But back to what you were saying, so that's how I funnel it now is to write. but I used to when I was younger, and I think some of Zach's favorite songs of mine come from this, is I would just pick up a guitar and start belting some absolute bullshit, and then all of a sudden we have Zach's favorite song by Brittany. So,
And I still have it on a CD that was burned from probably like a Windows 98 computer. Like
2009, here's a mixed CD of some
titles
stuff.
like written in Sharpie. I'm probably the only one that owns that
Yeah, so I
collector's edition.
yeah, I mean, when I go to
Super.
Vultures, every once in a while we go out to an open mic together. When I go to Vultures, those songs I play would be those. I play my eighth grade songs because I'm not playing you my new stuff. You're not going to judge that. I don't care what you think. Here's something I wrote in eighth grade before I could drive, and tell me it's bad because eighth grade was 3 lifetimes ago. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I think some of the good acoustic stuff came from writing like that, and I appreciate that form of writing. But Zach lives under me, so I can't be screaming at 3 in the morning anymore.
Oh, so you hooting
I-
and hollering all the time.
What? You-
I know you hear me hooting and hollering.
yeah.
Have you guys and thank you so much for sharing it, each of you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. That's part of the reason why I love doing the show is like, hopefully being able to put people onto music if they weren't aware of it before, but also just like I told you guys before we even hit record, like music's been such a cathartic force in my life. It still is. Um, Exercise, getting out in nature, putting on some like gnarly music and exercising really helps just kind of get that all out for me. If I was a better guitar player, it would probably be like some riffs, um lately it's been a lot of like Kubla Khan, Texas, just like heavy, beat down. Like 972 is one of my favorite songs I've heard in like the last like year and a half, 2 years. That was, I think, maybe my most played on Spotify last year. So shout out to Kubla Khan, Texas. Maybe I'll see him when I think they're going on tour with Lamb of God. But yeah, I think that the theme from what I heard from y'all too is just getting stuff out of your head, whether that's journaling or writing music. Like when stuff just bounces around up here, like I think there's something about either speaking it or putting it on paper, recording it, just getting it out of your system in like a healthy way. But yeah, mental health is something that's really important to me. I've had my struggles in my life with it and still do. And sometimes people don't have the means for therapy, sadly, if they don't have health insurance at all or they don't have a plan where they can afford it. So I think finding those outlets, whether it's exercise, music, journaling would probably help me a lot. There's a crap load that goes on up here. It's like a hamster in a wheel all the time. Um, but I really appreciate you guys sharing that, and I really appreciate the time. I know I'm a little over. I'm going to ask you one lighter one quickly, and it's kind of a two-parter. An album to this day that you can still listen to front to back, and any like free shout outs that you want to give to other artists, or just anything that you're listening to right now that you want to recommend and shout out on the show. And I know I didn't prep you for that at all, but I can think of like 4 records like that I know would be like front to back listens for me still to this day. Pearl Jam 10 would be one of them.
Yes.
Blackbird, Alter Bridge, one of my favorites. Animosity, Seven Dust, front to back listen. Back in Black, AC/DC, front to
Oh,
back.
good one. That's a good
Yeah.
one.
Those would be like my core 4. If I was on an island and somehow, questions like that, like if you're stranded on an island and like somehow there's like a radio that works, like those would be records I'd bring.
I would say personally, any Fleetwood Mac album. I've mentioned them earlier, but I gotta say Alabama Shakes, either Boys and Girls or Sound and Color, but Sound and Color in particular. Um, oh, there was somebody else I was gonna say. I'll leave it at that for now. Oh, actually, no. I gotta add Amy Winehouse as well.
Good. My front to back albums, it can't be one. It can't be one. It's gonna be the Tony Bennett Lady Gaga duet.
Wow.
If you haven't listened to it, you haven't listened to music. Tank and the Bangas, the Red album. It is their sophomore album, right? And no, Green is their sophomore album.
Or Green is freshman.
Green is freshman. Anyway,
Yeah,
listen
great.
to all of Tank and the Bangas, but Red specifically has a lot of good ones. They have a song called Rhythm of Life that's off their first one. Tank and the Bangas is funk, spoken poetry type stuff. So really, really, for real, check it out.
I don't know.
All right, Zach, add another one,
Yeah.
because then I'll get into my heavy
I
stuff.
have to say, Paramore After Laughter, which I think was like 2018-ish maybe, before COVID. It's a little more 80s popish if you like Paramore as like the original, it might be a departure for you. But in terms of some of the topics we were covering with mental health and stuff, I think that is a really great album for it because the whole album sounds kind of light and poppy in a way, but it covers some really kind of heavy themes and it does it in such a way that is enjoyable, but also I feel like, yeah, you feel the connection of it. Okay, I'm done.
No. So after Tank, we're gonna go with an album you have to listen to front and back, especially if you like emo, is going to be Amberlin Cities. Such a good one. A lot of emotion, a lot, and a little bit of genre swinging as well. A little bit of soft, almost orchestra-like stuff, and then some of their there's a couple heavier songs on that one as well. That could be it for me. That could be it, you know?
It's hard for me because I listen to so many artists like sporadically, but I would say like Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, just because that was like forever childhood. And then the Nirvana self-titled, the Duran Duran 2. Um, I grew up listening to a lot of my parents' music. And so like a lot of that um influenced it. The other thing is I'm crap with album titles.
Same.
I'm crap with it. And so you could be like, this song, and I'd be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then you could play it for me, and I'd be like, oh yeah, and I'd sing you it. But when it just comes to like the words, it does not compute for me. But that's what I'm gonna throw out right now.
I would also say I'd also say make sure you listen to some Reba McEntire. If you being in Nashville, I mean, if you want to hear some fucking emo hurt, throw on some Reba McEntire from the 90s. You're gonna cry. And then if you like pop country, Keith Urban. If you want your sadness, listen to some country. Emo's not doing it for you. Listen to country, you get your sadness. So
Have y'all checked out Steven Wilson Jr.? That's probably one of my favorite artists that I've come across in like the last couple of years. His Son of Dad album. He calls himself Death Cab for country. Um, but he plays his guitar. It's like one of those guitars with like the nylon strings, but like the sounds and stuff he makes is just his voice. Like that dude, he's starting to get people are starting to find out about him more. I saw him play the Brooklyn Bowl in Nashville with my buddy Brand. Shout out to Brand's band, Sleep Nation. They're sick. Um, and then he just did 2 nights at the Ryman a couple months ago. They sold out the first night, and then they added a second night. I was fortunate; I was able to get tickets at Face. But if you're into like singer songwriter and you like country too, that dude is like he's singing from like his soul, and was really close with his dad, and that whole album is like a tribute to him. And I don't know. It's just sometimes you come across like those authentic voices, and that dude's music is pretty cool. And what got me into him was he has this song called Year to Be Young. And when they were doing like the promos for the album coming out, he was doing acoustic versions, and he was knocking around on his guitar. I say knocking around like he can really play, but he did the riff from All Apologies. And I saw this reel on Instagram, and I heard that like dun 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 dun, and then he just like went right into the song, and it was such like this awesome nostalgic song. And I'm like, who is this guy? So I was a stan, like immediately bought the vinyl. Have seen him twice now. But anyway, when you mentioned country, I was like, I don't know if it's in their wheelhouse or not, but Stephen Wilson Jr. is sick. But
It's
I
in
might
my
look him up.
wheelhouse.
yeah, I go
Authentic, I like it. If it feels like the artist is authentic, even if it's a genre I don't like, I'll be captured.
yeah, I will
That's
say
important
that
to me.
my country recommendations are so serious because I do not like country. So I am so serious. Consider Me Gone, Reba McEntire. You go listen to it, okay? And then
What?
because
Sorry. No,
be-
that song.
it's a true.
What? Hey!
That is so fair.
No, but I'm not. It's not a. I'm like not a country person. So when I throw country out there, it's like really resonated with me for like my whole life. So yeah, and old Keith Urban, of course. So
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I appreciate all the recs. I'm sure the listeners will as well. And again, shout out like the heavy gnarly stuff too. Shout out the Black Swan record from Story of the Year. That just reminded me. Sorry, my brain is going all over the place right now. But when you guys said you went to see Story of the Year, that Black Swan album is
it's
shout out my
really
buddy Dave. He put me onto that one. But well, I stayed 15. I kept you guys 15 minutes over. But I really appreciate the time, y'all. This has been a lot of fun talking with you. You have a new fan in me. I'm glad we connected on Instagram. So I want everybody to go check out the back catalog, but also go check out the latest single, Shallow End. And I'll put up the links in the podcast description, but let people know where they can find you if they're not familiar with Ghost Tale.
You can find us on Instagram at ghost.tail, Tail as an animal tail, so ghost.tail.band. On TikTok, it's also going to be ghost.tail.band. And then on Facebook, it's just Ghost Tail
Yeah.
Band. No, I think it's just Ghost Tail.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
Ghost
it's
Tail.
Facebook.Ghost Tail, Tail, as an animal tail.
Alrighty, dighty, there you have it. That was my conversation with Brittany, Richard, and Zach of Ghost Tale out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. Make sure you go follow these guys on Instagram at ghost.tail.band. And once again, that is tail spelled Tail, ghost.tail.band on Instagram. The links to all of their stuff will be in the podcast description for this episode. So just scroll down to the bottom of that podcast description, hit those links, and go follow and support my new friends in Ghost Tale. You know, if you love indie, alternative, if you also love rock, heavy moments, these guys have it all. Great lyricism. A song that I didn't mention at the jump that we talked about in the conversation that I also really loved, that pulls at the heartstrings, is Till Valhalla. That's a heavy one lyrically, but that's what I like about this band, man, is they mix in these different elements and different influences, as you guys heard in that conversation. They've been playing music a long time. They brought Richard into the fold, and they're doing their thing. They're playing a lot of live gigs right now too. In fact, they have one coming up on February 21st. So if I'm doing my math right, that is Saturday. So if you want to go see these guys play, they're going to be at Thrashers Bar in Colorado Springs on Saturday, February 21st. So, or if you want to take a little road trip and go see these guys live. But I just want to say once again to Brittany, Richard, and Zach, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me for more than an hour. I felt like at the end, I just kind of kept you. And I wouldn't shut up. And they're like, is this guy still talking? That's probably just me being too much in my head. But I just want to let the three of yous know that I really enjoyed our conversation, and I really appreciate you giving me more than an hour of time and taking me and the listeners through your journey with Ghost Tale and the Colorado music scene, and really talking about what looks to be a mecca in terms of live music with Red Rocks. That's, you know, like we talked about in the conversation, man. That's on my bucket list of shows to see live. It's just such a cool venue, and I've been there and visited, but still haven't been to a show yet, like I said. So it was cool to hear more about the Colorado music scene and y'all's sound, and really excited for you guys and what you got coming up. So once again, everybody, ghost.tail.band on Instagram. The links to everything for those guys will be in the podcast description for this episode. And if you did like what you heard and Ghost Tale brought you here and you're a first time listener, once again, welcome aboard the pirate ship. But if you would be so kind, please like and follow and subscribe to the podcast. And one thing that you can do that's really, really huge, y'all, is if on whatever streaming service you are listening to this on, Spotify, Apple, if you leave a 5-star review for the podcast, like a 5-star rating rather, if you comment on the show, if you share it, all those things go a long way in letting the algorithms know that you dug it, and it helps it rank higher organically from what I understand, and that's ultimately what I want because I want to put more people onto awesome bands like Ghost Tail and the other awesome artists and people that I have on this show and sharing these conversations of perseverance and moving forward. So if you would be so kind, I hate begging for this stuff, but at the same time, it really does help, get the word out about March 4th and artists like Ghost Tail. So that's going to be a wrap on this week's episode. Thank you to everybody who's listening to the show, y'all. I really appreciate it. Keep the faith and be kind to one another and be kind to yourselves. Courtesy of Ghost Tail, here is their latest single, Shallow End.
Stressing us out, trying to control